Namaskaram. My name is Abhishek Munigial and I'm a software developer who stays in Bangalore, and I'm a traveler by passion. Having been traveled to parts of Europe and then visited a few countries of Southeast Asia and being brought up in Indian system of education and being worked with Germans previously and currently with Americans and Israelis, I bring in perspective of spirituality through a scientific point of view. I'm an engineer by profession, so I always look at things from an engineer's perspective, and I took up a journey that I would like to explain. It was on a Thursday, it was on a Wednesday morning where I decided that I want to go for a trip, and because I'm a shoestring budget traveler and I have nothing planned on to my schedule, what I did was, all I did is book a Tatkal ticket to Kanyakumari. So I sat in the train in Bangalore and then just went to Kanyakumari to see and visit the places. And for the next 10 days, what was most important is I was off the digital grid, completely off. I didn't have laptop, I didn't have mobile phone, I didn't even have watch. So this added to a typical experience which was a bit adventurous, and it helped me to look things from a different perspective. So here it goes. On day one, I'd been to this place called Kanyakumari, which is the southernmost tip of India, and having been visited the famous places of Kanyakumari, that is the temple of Virgin Goddess Kanyakumari, and then Swami Vivekananda Rock Memorial, while I was traveling back, I saw a gigantic figure or a statue of some person. I didn't know who he was, but then there was a gigantic structure or a statue in the middle of the ocean, and that made me think, who is this guy? Maybe he's a king. But when I saw the stature, it did not look like a king. Then I inquired with the locals who this guy was, and then I found something very different. And this guy was none other than Tiruvallur. All I knew about Tiruvallur is once Dr. APJ Abdul Kalam, the former president of India, while giving a UN national address, he quoted a few lines from this poet who was not just a poet but a saint. And then what I did was I took up a book on Tiruvallur and I started reading, and I found something amazing, something really mind-blowing. The thing is, like, he has composed a lot of poems, and then he is known for his works called as Tirukkurals. It's a collection of 1330 Tirukkurals, which is speaking about virtue, wisdom, wealth and love. Now look at this. He's a saint, he's a poet, and he's speaking about wealth, he's speaking about love, he's speaking about virtue. And then the greatest thing that I could see is he has written all this a couple of hundred of years back, and then his Tirukkurals had a kind of combination, that is, all the Tirukkural couplets come up with 7 words, only 7 words. It's like a modern day tweet. Even tweet has more number of characters than the Kurals. So look about the artistry of this person. He could put all the wisdom of the world into 1330 couplets, and then each couplet has 7 words, and he could put the wisdom in the 7 words. I just thought, like, see, if I write a tweet, like occasionally whenever I write a tweet, you know, it's typically I will not be able to express in 7 words, but he could express the whole thing, and that too upon various topics, in 7 words itself. So this is like something amazing. That's what I understood. You know, no matter which profession you belong, if you are able to deliver to the best of that era, then you'll definitely be remembered. And this is just a reaffirmation of my faith, saying that no job is big or small. It's just how you perform that matters. So this structure was not of a king but of a saintly poet. That gives how important education is. The next day, I went to a place called Suchindram. Suchindram is known for something that's mind-blowing. Okay, if you come from a technological background, then this place Suchindram will blow your mind. It is known for its musical pillars. You know, I went to the temple, and what just happened is there are a couple of pillars there where small structures are carved out of single stone, and then when you hit each of the pillar, you get different sounds. One gives the sound of chalam, one gives the sound of tabla, one gives the sound of sitar. From the same stone, something is carved out, and then you find 7 pieces, and when you hit to all the 7 pieces at different times, you get different you get different sounds. And this was like something, I was like, oh my god, what is this? Like, and then that too, they were giving a hollow structure, and then I repeatedly inquired to the temple priest asking, is it a hollow thing, or is there something like a water or air flowing inside? He told, no, it's just a stone. I thought maybe it's by luck, by chance. But then when I saw there were replicas of the same kind of pillars all around the temple, I'm like, imagine the technological brilliance these people had. They were able to carve out of a single stone which could create different sounds. And I was like, oh my god, this is like simply superb. You know, it's like even the modern day octopads, okay, they still are not, they will not be able to compete with, you know, these kind of instruments. And the third day is all about, I went to a place called as Vivekanandapuram in Kanyakumari, and this place had something that I really thought, I always have a dream of starting a school where the tagline of the school will be education as it should be. And I keep trying to collect things wherein how I can help to impact students, and this is what my dream is. And what I observed is there is a place called as Ramayana Darshanam. So in this place I found something amazing. I was just like, as we all know about Ramayana, I knew I know things about what Ramayana is and things like that. But then here the temple is like the second best temple built in the contemporary India. First, I would always rate it to Akshardham temple in Delhi, and then this place is something a person can spend 3 to 4 hours. It's kind of museum wherein the whole of Ramayanam is described in terms of pictures, and then a written format giving access in 3 different languages, English, Tamil, and then Hindi. And then here I discovered a personality. While we all know about sage Vishwamitra, who is known for someone who challenged gods and things like that, but then what I observed here was when he went to Rama's father, Rama and Lakshmana's father, asking that please send your kids to my Gurukul. I want to teach them Astra. Astra means technology, and sage Vishwamitra is known for having the highest form of missile technology. So when I went there, I could dig in a little more deeper about what all astras that sage Vishwamitra had, and then how did he do this technological transfer from his knowledge to Rama and Lakshmana. So Rama and Lakshmana were at a very tender age, and so then the father, the king Dasharatha, he pleaded in front of Vishwamitra saying that my kids are small, they are in a temple, they are in a palace, and they are in all kind of luxuries, and I don't know how they will be able to help you, and then how they'll be able to learn. So when Dasharatha told about this, sage Vishwamitra told, don't worry king, just send me your kids. And then what I observed is what a technical way of teaching the students. You know what was the first thing that sage Vishwamitra do? For the first couple of months, he did not teach any technology, he did not give some big knowledgeful things to Rama and Lakshmana. All that he taught was strategically how to conquer anxiety, how to conquer laziness, how to overcome sleep, how to overcome fatigue, how to overcome stress. So these different these 6 to 7 different things which are always an obstacle in learning, he taught them how to overcome this. This thing is called as Bala, Atibala, mantras, or there's something that I still need to dig up a little more to understand how it happens. But the moral of the story is he taught all these things wherein a person could overcome these basic things, and then as we know, once a person is able to overcome sleep and then laziness, fatigue and stress and all, you can teach him anything and it permeates into one's brain. And then this is where Rama learned about different missile technologies like Indrastra, Brahmastra, wherein it was clearly mentioned how each of the missile, what was its capabilities, what is its impact, and what is its feedback mechanism. And then it also explained about the it's kind of like modern Einstein's theory of relativity, how to convert sound energy to physical form in form of like mantra to astra to heat form, that is distraction. So it was just like the conversion of mass to energy, energy to mass. So it's something like that. So this is what it was all describing about. So this was my third day, and I was like very amazed to see that. And I probably, because I was off the digital grid, so that is where it helped me to observe the things more keenly. And then, you know, my standard operating procedure was whichever place I went, all I did was first go to the nearest railway station, and then I traveled only through trains. You know, IRCTC is the cheapest form of travel, and for a shoestring budgeted traveler like me, you know, this helps a lot. And then the next thing is the next place that I went is Rameshwaram. Yeah, Rameshwaram is one place. It is called as one of the Jyotirlingas of India. It's one of the 12 Jyotirlingas, and there are a lot of things to learn from Shiva, the god. And then in Rameshwaram, what I learned was, see, apart from, you know, Shiva, temple, Dhanushkodi, and all of this, there are a couple of technologies that I learned. It has a temple which speaks about the floating stone. You know, in Ramayana, when there was an instance wherein Rama had to move from India to Lanka, that is Sri Lanka, modern day Sri Lanka or Ceylon, he had constructed a bridge, and then the technology used to make this happen was he built a bridge in the middle of the ocean by using a stone called as a floating stone. And the special features of this stone is it floats in water, as simple as that. That means, you know, people had that visionary, exploratory thing of how to find things how to find things in terms of technology to solve the day-to-day problems of constructing a bridge or something like that. So this was about Rameshwaram, and along with this, I also understood one very important aspect about this also homes a native of the former president of India, Dr. APJ Abdul Kalam, and while he worked on, he is fondly called as the missile man of the country. While he worked on missile technology, he was honored with number of doctorates across the world. And when I went to his home, which is a museum now, so what I found was he was conferred with a very typical award, and it was given by a league of Buddhists, and the name of the award or the concept behind giving this award was all about how you could bring world peace. I was like, oh, this guy is bringing a missile technology, a technology that's known for its destructive powers and things like that, and this person is being honored for world peace. And that's where I could sit and think, and then understand how you can equip, how one can equip with oneself. So even whatever profession or whatever technology that one can work off, you know, how he can relate it to bringing peace to the world. And you know, when Dr. APJ Abdul Kalam was often asked about why is the need of this technology, and always he quoted a very simple quotation saying, you know, in this world, strength respects strength. And that's what I was like, oh, this is a very nice way of looking at the things. Basically, this is a nice way. And then the next day, the fifth day, I went to this place called as Madurai Meenakshi temple in Madurai. So I was among the first visitors of the temple. I was there in the temple queue at 4 o'clock in the morning. The temple opens at 4:30 a.m. and this temple has a different aspect. Okay, different aspects in terms of technology as well as spirituality, as well as about empowerment. It's one such temple in India where first you are allowed, or one is allowed to take darshan of the goddess and then about the god. So here it's typically Devi comes, or Shakti power comes before Shiva. So it's kind of typical woman empowerment thing, if you ask me. So first Devi and then Shiva. And then when it comes to a spiritual aspect of this temple, this temple embodies something called as 3 different forms of Shiva. As we all know, Shiva is Rupa, Arupa and Rupa Rupa. That means Shiva is known for his form, the formless and the shapeless. So this temple depicts how all the 3 things can be visualized. There is the Murti of Lord Nataraja, where the Shiva is worshipped in the form of Rupa. Then there is the Linga, which is shapeless, and then there is Arupa, wherein once in a year what happens is they take the deity for the procession, and then the deity is surrounded by mirrors all around, the 360-degree mirror, and then there people worship the formless by seeing the reflection of the god in the mirror. So this is an aspect of Shiva where Shiva is worshipped as Rupa, Arupa and Rupa Rupa. So this is what I observed in Madurai Meenakshi temple. And while this temple is also known for 1,000 pillars, to be more precise, it's 984 pillars. So I was able to see this, and I think typically the temples of Tamilnadu are not something that needs to be visited. It's something that one needs to experience. It's kind of like user experience, or the temple experience, I would rather call it. And then about these temples of Tamil Nadu are to be experienced and lived about. The next aspect that I wanted to tell is, next place I went is Coimbatore. It was the day of Mahashivratri. It is known for the celebrations of Mahashivratri in front of the gigantic 112 feet Shiva structure called as Adi Yogi. So I was there for the whole night, the 12-hour celebration from 6 p.m. to 6 a.m. Right? It's one of the celebrated events in the modern days in India. And what I observed here, apart from everything else, is one important aspect of Shiva, the first yogi, or the first known form of Shiva called as Adi Yogi. So when Adi Yogi wanted to give technology of how to perfect or how to embody the best of the human form, he gave 112 techniques or 112 ways of attaining the perfection of human being. And he gave his knowledge to Sapta Rishis. So the 7 Rishis, or the 7 saints that this world respects, or to be more precise, people of India respect for these 7 Sapta Rishis. This is all one thing. But then the more important thing for me was, how did he do the technology transfer? How did he teach them? And that is where I learned about this technology. You know what? It is said that Shiva was dancing in ecstasy for a lot of time, and then suddenly he was standstill, and he was in a meditative mode, and he was kind of like emitting brilliance, a kind of radiation. And these Sapta Rishis surrounded him, and then they were watching what is happening to this guy. He's kind of like illuminating, or he was like, there's some kind of effervescence that was coming out of this Adi Yogi. And this is where these people were interested, and then they sat straight for 84 years, and then wherein they became a good recipient. So all the 112 techniques that Lord Shiva wanted to give it to the world, he gave it to this, he divided it into these 7 Sapta Rishis. And how did he do that? He was just sitting like a, it's like a Wi-Fi router. You emanate signals, and then there are the receptive signals that these 7 Sapta Rishis. Imagine about the technology, imagine about the kind of technical losses. There's absolutely no loss of technology. Say if you wanted to pass knowledge from one form to another, the lowest forms of passage is written form of communication, because languages are normally live. They are unlike dead languages, and then they are evolving. Their context changes. The person's ability to understand things changes. Whereas here there's a technology where you just sit in front of the teacher, and the teacher just emanates, and then in the same crude, raw, original, pure, blissful form you receive the knowledge. And that's what I observed in Coimbatore. The next day I had been to this place called as Chidambaram. It's Chidambaram has a lot of aspects. Typically people take just half a day to stay and then understand and then visit Chidambaram, but I was there for more than 2.5 days to understand Chidambaram, because someone who kind of in the fraternity of dance, it is like the Makkah. It's the pinnacle. So Lord Shiva in the form of Nataraja performed dance here, and then the whole of the temple is all about different postures of dance. This is where Chidambaram is quite famous for, and typically dance is it is called as Natya Shastra in Indian philosophy, in Indian form of education, where it's a shastra or it's a kind of teaching. And Natya Shastra is known for how to pass on truth, or basically it was a mode of communication, of passage of truth from one generation to another generation. So whatever thing or whatever knowledge was to be transferred from one generation to another generation, they did not transfer it through documentation. They transferred it through Natya dance, where they think, or it's rather a proven fact that one can pass the knowledge in a more better form from dance rather than a documentation. Okay, so this is what Chidambaram is known for. But then for the next 2-3 days, what I was observing is something else. Okay, first day, day one, if you see the archaeological aspect or the architectural aspect of Chidambaram, you see something else. Okay, it is unlike a typical South Indian temple where you go to the temple, in the middle of the temple perimeter you go enter, and then there is sanctum sanctorum in the middle, there's a deity, and then you go worship and come back. This temple is not like that. If you observe keenly, this temple is something else. This temple is depicting the kind of a human form of knowledge. And then this temple is like Shiva temples are, they come up with some kind of different aspect. This temple is known for the worship of sky. Okay, they tell that a human form is made up of 5 Panchamahabhuts: the air, fire, the sky or the ether, and then the other 2 elements. And this temple is dedicated for sky, and all that you observe in this temple is, whenever you go, you have to just raise your head and then see onto the roof of the temple, or it's all about raising your head and looking up. That is what this temple is about. And one thing is, here in the temple you enter from the middle, then you go to take a left, and at the heart, in a typical body where there is a heart, so that is where in that temple the shrine is at the heart location and not in the center. And then all the pathways of traveling in the temple are not in the middle. It is believed that this temple was constructed by keeping in a thought process that the way the arteries and veins run in our body, they don't run into the center of our body, they are just to the sides of our body. If you see my hand, there's no artery in the center of my body, it's just towards the side. And that is how this temple depicts about how one can go through spirituality and then significance of these things, not directly going through central regions. Actually it's to a different level of what I'm speaking. It's not exactly what I'm not able to express it in the correct form here, but it needs to be studied. Second thing about Chidambaram is, this is one such temple in India where the three different gods, that is Shiva, Brahma and then Vishnu, are celebrated and worshipped in the same temple. Well, Brahma is not worshipped for a different reason, But then this temple has all these three deities, and then people worship it. And then there is one form of Shiva here, that is formless Shiva. This one single, kind of stone. There's no deity, there's nothing. Okay, there's only 2 bilva leaves that are being given, or that are being offered to the Lord. And then this temple depicts the formless form of Shiva, where there's like nirakara. There's no akara of Shiva. So it's like the formless form of Shiva is worshipped here at Chidambaram. And this is what I observed on at Chidambaram. And someone who is in the fraternity of Tam, someone who is in the fraternity of art, there's a lot more to explore in Chidambaram. It's just a glimpse. I have a little more, but due to constraints of time, I'm not able to put that here. The next thing that I observed is I went to a place called Thanjavur, and someone who is in the domains of project management, someone who is in the domain of art, someone who is in the domain of excellence. Thanjavur is masterpiece. One needs to observe here. One needs to see what Thanjavur is. What I did is, rather than spending on something else, I gave a couple of hundreds to my guide just to explain me Thanjavur in 30 minutes. And that is where I learned a lot of these aspects. First thing, Thanjavur temple is standing tall for the last 1,000 years. Last year, Archaeological Society of India, the local state government, and the state government of Tamilnadu collaboratively celebrated the millennial celebrations of Thanjavur. And this temple is one of the tallest towers in the country. And then what is important is this temple was constructed 1,000 years before, and it was completed in a record time of 6 to 7 years. Imagine the kind of technology they might have used here. 6 to 7 years. This temple is such a gigantic figure, and then the temple is made up of granite, no cement used. It is by a famous technique in architecture called as interlocking structure of the stones, one that is used in making of pyramids. So the temple is constructed by using interlocking of the stones, and then the temple was constructed in 6 to 7 years. And then this temple, the shadow of the temple doesn't fall onto the ground at any instance of time. I wasn't able to totally understand this aspect, but one thing was very sure is the center of the temple, the upper sanctum of the temple, the kind of like the gumbas kind of thing, the structure there, that's a monolithic structure, and this structure's shadow never falls on the ground. That is what I am still, due to the lack of time and my lack of knowledge in architecture, I was not really able to understand that aspect. But then, if we dig deeper, I'm quite sure that we can find about how this works. The shadow doesn't fall on the ground, and I totally accept my failure in understanding this aspect. But then, what is more interesting for me is looking at a project management thing. It's like 15,000 elephants were employed, 76,000 laborers were employed to construct this temple in a record time of 6 to 7 years. And this, because I'm still thinking about the technology used for project management. I was like, even with the agile form of development that we use in our corporates, we will still not be able to do it with computers being used, which are very good to keep a documentation. I still know it is not possible to construct something in 6 to 7 years of that brilliance. And that's the reason why this temple is known, celebrated, and then this temple is one of the World Heritage Sites. So this is something that still needs to understood. And this temple is not just a temple of Shiva. You can watch embryology onto the structures of the temple. You can watch the teachings on the temple, and then the art. Just to finish it up, I found something more interesting here. A temple of 1,000 years before. Okay, I see the temple, I take a parikrama or a circumambulation of the temple, and then all of a sudden, from nowhere, I see a hatted man inscribed at the top of the temple along with a lady. The two figures, and they were totally kind of ugly ducklings in the whole of picture. And I was like, who is this? This looks like some kind of Englishman. And I asked my guide, who's this guy? How come in the typical goddesses, the human, the Indian men and women, how do I find something like an Englishman? And then this is where I got to understand it was the king who is known as Raja Chola. He was given the title of Raja, that is King of Kings, because of creation of this temple. During the creation of the temple, Marco Polo along with his girlfriend was visiting the whole of the world. And as India is known for Atiti Devo Bhava, the king was so impressed with Marco Polo because he was touring whole of the world for explaining the significance of economy and then for expanding business prospects to the world. So in honor of this Englishman Marco Polo and then his girlfriend, this king, even though it's a temple, he thought that my guests are more important and they need to be remembered. That's the reason the stone structures of Marco Polo and his girlfriend are being put up in this temple. So this is something Atiti Devo Bhava at its best, I can say. So this is how it was the whole of 10 days. Because I was totally disconnected with the world. I was only carrying a small backpack with 2 pair of clothes and then some cash and then some books. So I was able to experience, and I wish I could go more on such kind of travels. And if you have, if time permits, or if you wish to get to know a little more about this mode of traveling, of digital detox mode of traveling, you can just connect to me, because there are certain travel hacks about how to see for the next destination, how to book, and things like that. Like, because I'm a budgeted traveler and I know a few hacks, and this comes with a lot of experience. So if you want to know more about any of the things, whether it's about different places to visit or how to travel in this parts of Tamil Nadu, some other places that I've visited previously, you can connect to me. You can find me on facebook.com/Abhishek Munigial and a lot more. So thanks for watching. Thanks for your patience. Dhanyawad.